Hello, my name is Caroline Allums, and today I will be talking to you about the professional development that I designed on education myths. I'm using a program today called Pear Deck that will help me to have an interactive professional development because we are currently in these unprecedented times where many of our participants are going to be at home and are going to be participating virtually. So Pear Deck is a fantastic application that can create interactivity with your work. On the right-hand side, I have what the participant view would look like, and on the left-hand side, I have what the teacher view would look like. So I'm going to flip over to the teacher view and start explaining my professional development. So I would start off by welcoming, of course, my participants and thanking them for coming. And I would ask them if any of them know any education myths, and I would hope that they would unmute their mics on Zoom and give us some of the things that they have heard. As they do that, I would be asking them to log in to Pear Deck and make sure everybody is there and we all have what we need for the professional development on our screens. And then I would go over the agenda. You can see that the participant screen changes as my screen changes. So that's one great thing about Pear Deck is the instructor is in control of the presentation as it goes. So I would like I said, I would welcome them. We would start a discussion on education myths, and then I would have them complete a learning styles quiz. And I would ask them if they've ever used learning styles in their classroom, or maybe in a classroom that they've been in before, they've been given a learning style or taken a learning styles quiz. So I'm going to give them the opportunity to take a learning style quiz. And so I'm going to quickly go through and pretend to be a participant and quickly take our very quick learning style quiz and see what our pretend person comes up with. Because I want my professional developments to be interactive, it's not going to require me to be talking or speaking the entire time during the professional development. So I would give my participants time. I would set a timer so they are able to do this on their own and think about it as they're doing it. So I am going to see what this person got. Oh, they're very strong visual. So once all my participants feel like they've taken it appropriately, I'm then going to move on to the next slide and have my participants take the check mark that they see on their screen and move it to which learning style they got. And this will be a fun way for us to start talking about the learning styles and how they affect us. And as we're doing this, I'm going to be asking them, do you feel like this is correct? Is this something that you agree with? Or is your learning style something that you agree with? So I would like to start some discussion about the particular learning style that the teachers have. Then I'm going to talk about what our learning goal is. And I'm going to say, actually, learning styles are a myth, and Our main goal for you today is at the end for you to explain as a teacher why this theory is a myth. So we are then going to jump into a jigsaw. And I have a jigsaw here set up only for 4 teachers, but it can absolutely be set up for more. So in our jigsaw here, I have teacher A and teacher B in the yellow group, and they are going to be reading the Myth of Learning Styles article from The Atlantic. And so I would give them time to read this article, not very long, but it goes into the background of the VARC questionnaire that they just took. And it talks about how the British Journal of Psychology, Daniel Willingham, talks about how learning styles are actually a myth. So this article will show evidence to the participants on why learning styles are a myth. So that would be half of the group reading this article. The other half of the group would then be reading this article, which is one we actually read in class, and I would give both groups some time to read their articles. Then I would use Zoom to create breakout rooms and have everyone who read the Myth of Learning Styles come up with one summary of the article that they read. Then I would have this pink group would meet in a separate group, and they would all talk about the article that they read, and they would come up with a summary. So when they're ready, I would then go to the next slide, and I would ask them to write a quick summary. They might say that learning styles are not true. And once they submit it, I can see it on my instructor screen, my teacher screen. I can see their submission. Then, since it is a jigsaw, I would then have them regroup, and they would regroup, in fact, with someone that did not read their article. The teachers would be in charge of explaining their article to the person who has not read it. And they would explain what they learned and see the comparisons and the differences between the 2 articles. And then we would come back together as a group and talk about what we learned. Next, we would do a carousel. So I would send my teachers to what we call a Jamboard. And this Jamboard is going to give the teachers the opportunity to read about 3 different myths. So myth 1, myth 2, and myth 3. And then they would be able to see my sources for where I got the myths. And they would be able to create a sticky note where they could write down what they learned from the myth. I did not realize that homework was bad. And then they would save it, and there would be a sticky note for either other teachers to read or for me as the instructor to read. So everybody's thoughts would be on the Jamboard, and they could do one for each myth. So once we have completed the Jamboard, I would start to wrap up my presentation by asking, why are learning styles a myth? And I would have my teachers explain to me why these learning styles are not real. And then lastly, I would ask my teachers, how are they going to use what they learned in this PD in their classroom? Thank you very much for watching my presentation.